Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to talk about some tips that have to do with some changes that were made in the most recent Fortnite update. If you haven't gotten to play yet, or even if you have played today with the new update, some of these changes may have slipped past you and you may not have noticed them at all. If you guys do find this video helpful or informative, please do remember to give it a like rating, subscribe if you would like to see more, and use code evolve-jake in the item shop when you buy the Minty Elf. If you do use that code in the item shop, Epic pays the creators a percentage of the money that you spend instead of keeping it all themselves. The first tip in this video is going to pertain to the new Sneaky Snowman item. This is an item that we've had in the game before. However, it functions very differently than it did in the past. Once you throw the snowman out, you can actually pickaxe it and it will turn into a snowball, and then you can throw this snowball at opponents' builds to do damage, through the builds even. Like, a player can be boxed up and you can throw the snowman at their building and they will take damage through the wall. This can be really good, as you see on the clips here. I'm breaking a lot of builds and like displacing these players. I don't have mats here to do anything, but it's okay because I can use the snowman and it's really, really overpowered. And it's also really good early game if you get these out of your chest and you throw them at an opponent's house, like off spawn. Like, let's say you land Holly Hedges, you're at one house, somebody's at the other. If you throw this snowball at their house, it's actually going to do a lot of structural damage to the house. It breaks so many builds and it makes pretty much no audio cue at all. So you might be able to catch that player off guard and get them with some easy AR tags after you've destroyed like half their house in a very short time span. Really good for taking out turtling players, really good for third-partying fights, really good for knocking builds down. The snowman is incredibly powerful, and more people are likely going to be taking advantage of it as time goes on. I really do hope that they patch this or vault this to the point where like you can't actually do damage through walls or like break builds with it. If you hit somebody with the snowball, like fine, they can take damage from that, but I don't think the snowball should be breaking builds or doing damage to players through the builds. The next thing I want to talk about is these ice blocks that exist around the map. This is at one location that's near Retail Row, but these ice blocks exist around the map and you can actually farm them to get loot. You'll see a piece of loot in the ice block itself. Sometimes you don't see the loot in there, but usually you could see the loot in there. And like, let's say you see floppers, it's going to drop 4 floppers when you break it. And these things have a significant amount of health. But if you break the floor piece that it's on, like some of them are on buildings, if you break the floor piece, you break it very quickly and it actually allows you to fast farm these. This location outside of retail has like 3 or 4 of them that you can like break almost immediately just by breaking the floor underneath them. And you can get a lot of good loot that way. I've seen spads in here, I've seen scars, I've seen high rarity tack shotguns, and then also the fish, which you get a full stack of floppers or slurp fish. These ice blocks are incredibly good. They're mostly contained to this one area at the moment, but I believe as time goes on and they add more and more snow to the map, that they're going to have more and more of these ice blocks. So this is something that's good to keep in mind as they add more ice blocks on the map. There's also ice boxes that occur in several places, the freezers, and you can actually open these to get loot, which is pretty nice. Next thing I want to talk about is the return of the Snowball Launcher, but it actually doesn't function exactly as it did in the past. It functions more like the proximity launcher than the Snowball Launcher. It blows up upon impact with an opponent, and it will even trigger on their builds. The fire rate of this weapon is also more similar to the proximity launcher than it is the Snowball Launcher. The projectile just doesn't bounce around like it would with the proximity launcher. It just, you shoot it and it blows up right away. Whereas the grenade launcher typically had to bounce and stuff. So this is incredibly powerful and incredibly annoying. It's really, really spammy and really just irritating to play against. I don't really know why they did this rather than just bringing it back as the normal grenade launcher. Even when they had it as the egg launcher, it still functioned like the grenade launcher. It didn't blow up on impact like this. So I'm not really sure why they did that. But yeah, you basically have a proximity launcher, grenade launcher hybrid with 6 rounds in the mag instead of 2. So it's incredibly spammy. Once again, really good at getting players out that are turtling, really good for third-partying fights, really good for shooting at people. If you don't necessarily know where they are in all of the builds, you could just shoot this thing in and it will break most of the builds and you will find the opponent that you're looking for. So the grenade launcher is back in the game. It's incredibly powerful. You can get out of chests, you can get out of supply drops, and I think you can get out of presents as well. So it's definitely worth taking advantage of. And this comboed with the snowball thing is actually incredibly, incredibly powerful because the snowball breaks their builds and then you just start chucking grenades in there and there's not really much they can do about it. The final thing I want to talk about is the return of presents. And these presents were in the game before. Basically, you get them out of chests. And I think you can get them as floor loot as well. But in chests, they come as a healing slot. And then you throw this and you get a weapon and another healing item. which is pretty good. You can get coal out of it for some reason. I don't think the coal does anything. It's more of just like a joke, like reference to Christmas. But there's actually weapons that you can get out of this that I don't think you can get anywhere else. They have the suppressed scar, the tactical assault rifle, and the hunting rifle. As far as I know, the only way to get these weapons is out of presents, and I've actually played a lot today since the update came out, and I've only seen these weapons like a handful of time. I believe the only ways to get them are out of presents or out of supply drops. So if you're someone who enjoys using the TAC AR, the suppressed scar, or the hunting rifle, they are back for a short time with these presents. So definitely keep an eye out for them. You can get special loot, but you also get really good loot. I typically get high rarity items out of the presents, something like a scar, an AUG, a spaz, a high rarity tac. There's a lot of good weapons that come out of these, and I also usually get shields, which is nice. So take advantage of the presents, keep your eye on them, and you can get these really, really effective weapons and have unique weapons that you wouldn't normally have. I really like the fact that they added these weapons to the presents because we get more weapons in the game, but they didn't really dilute the loot pool at all by adding them into the presents. Like if they are only contained in presents, it doesn't really mess up your chances of getting anything else, you know? It's like you're getting, like having a hard time finding a normal AR if that's what you want to use. So I think the addition of the presents was pretty good, and it obviously is a festive themed item, so it goes well with like the vibe that we're going for with this update. That's going to be all for this video, guys. Like I said before, we got the snowmen turning into snowballs, which just destroy builds and do lots of damage through. We have these ice blocks that contain powerful loot. We have the return of the snowball launcher, which functions more like the proximity launcher. We have the freezers, and then we also have the presents. So this update adds a lot of new loot and a lot of different ways to get loot than there was before. Let me know what you think of this update down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys another time. Thanks for watching. Once again, remember to drop a like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.